Hey, what's up? This disciple Marchello Currence, rain back up in this. All right, this message is basically going to be straight to the point. It's going to be something that a lot of y'all don't know. Martin Luther King Jr. mother was shot and killed in church. Martin Luther King Jr.'s mother was shot and killed in church. Okay? I know you're like, OMG, for all of y'all that don't know. Yeah, Martin Luther King Jr. mother was shot and killed at church. Do I believe the American government was part of it? In my heart of hearts, 85% of me believes that they were. 15% is probably because I don't have enough evidence. But 85% tells me that they were a part of it. Okay? They used a black man. Let's just put them out the picture for a minute. For a minute. A black man did the shooting. Okay? It was this little short black dude. Could have been no more than what, 5'7", 5'6" even. Mental, very mentally sick. Goes into the church and specifically kills. Just so happened he kills Martin Luther King Jr. mother. What I think is that they use a mental man so that he would not get a bad punishment or charge, you know. And they used a black man so that you wouldn't think it was the government. Yeah. Because if they used a white man to kill Martin Luther King Jr.'s mother, you all would have thought, oh man, because why a white man coming to a black church, first of all? I mean, let's keep it real. I hate to say it. Christianity is still, especially in those times, was very segregated. So it would have been very obvious that a white man would have not been going to a black church, most likely. Not on the average. And they probably couldn't find a way to get Martin Luther King Jr.'s mother in because she was up in age. So she probably wasn't doing a lot of outings. Think about it. And if they had targeted her house, it would have also looked more like they knew who she was. See where I'm going with this? They would have knew who she was. That's saying they knew who she was, which means the government did it. If they would have killed her at her house, if the government would have killed her at her house, then people would have knew. Oh, the government. How do they just how does some crazy person just so happen target Martin Luther King Jr. mother when that family was already targeted? How did it just so happen to go and kill her in her own in her house? So at a public setting like the church, you really don't know for sure. You can't be 100% sure that the government was involved. But what black man you know is, first of all, after Martin Luther King Jr. after Martin Luther King Jr. was shot, what black man you know gonna go around randomly shooting people and go to a church? Remember, this has affected the culture. Martin Luther King Jr.'s death was not, this was something heavy on the culture. So out of all of that, a black man decides to go into a black church and kill somebody after he probably has been impacted himself with the death of Martin Luther King Jr. He decides he's going to go Out of all those feelings, all that pain, all the pain around him, all this going on in the news, on TV and everything, he decides to go into a black church and kill specifically Martin Luther King Jr.'s mother. A black man would have been too broke down. I don't believe nobody's that crazy. No. Even the most mentally sick, I would want to know what mental sickness he suffered with. Okay? Because even through certain mental sicknesses, a person can have empathy and sympathy and understand the world. And how many black people you will find, I don't care how crazy they was, will go around shooting in churches after Martin Luther King Jr. was shot. So what I think was the racist American government, the party that was racist, decided that they were so angry at the progress that was made, they wanted the whole family dead. His brother died mysteriously in a pool from being drowning in a pool in his underwear, and he was a pretty good seasoned swimmer. How does he drown? And he's a seasoned swimmer. And what black man you know wears underwear going swimming? Even back then. What black man you know wear underwear in a pool? Come on now. That don't even sound right for no black man. That's all I'm saying. That's a little sketchy. I have never heard of black men wearing underwear, real underwear, into a swimming pool. Regular bloomer white underwear, I'm guessing. Wearing those into a swimming pool? So his brother died, his mom died after he died. Sounds like people are so infuriated for the racial progress and the progress that was made, they just wanted to wipe out this family. That's what it sounds like to me. You know? And so it just don't add up. And now I'm finna get to the main event. Why haven't your leaders told you this? Why haven't the American government told you this? Out of all these documentaries they made about Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. dying, how come they couldn't add the fact that Martin Luther King Jr. mother was shot and killed in a church? This is not for, people could say for whatever reason, but nah, his death was already part of a documentary. So people that would say for privacy's sake, no. Because how Martin Luther King Jr. died was already that's on the same level of his mother dying. You know what I'm saying? So how does these people make all these documentaries and have all this information, and they leave out Martin Luther King Jr.'s mother dying? All they had to, if they didn't want to show any pictures, they didn't want to get into it, then they could have actually had a commentator say that, or show captions in the documentary that his mother was also killed and shot and killed in the church. That's all they had to do. Because I don't think the family wanted this held back. Obviously, how would I know? If this was a privacy issue, then how do I know about it? How come Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and all these leaders that y'all respect, how come they didn't tell y'all that Martin Luther King Jr. mother was shot and killed in the church? How come your favorite rappers didn't tell you that? I'm keeping it real. We say these people are our kings and queens, but I'm telling you something you didn't know. This is important because, and why it should be public knowledge, is so we know the nature of the government and the community that we're around. Yeah, we need to know. It is important to have this noted to know the state of the American community at that time. And I would say the American government. They didn't tell nobody. And and so all the people would say, "Oh, this was held back for." They can't prove and tell you nothing. All you know is you don't know it and it happened. They can't tell you, "Oh, the family didn't want nobody to know." They can't tell you that. All we know is it happened, and you didn't know about it. Your family didn't know about it. How come my parents didn't know about it? We're talking about the black community here. Okay? How come it wasn't common information among black people? Because even if it was my family, I would want people to know. Because I would want justice. And I would not feel that it would be justice locking up these fall guys. Someone else knew something. Someone else knew something about that man that came in that church and shot Martin Luther King Jr.'s mother. Somebody knew something about that besides him that actually did it. And so therefore further justice is needed. Therefore, it's not a bad thing for the community to know. You see what I'm saying? So this happened. And I believe the American government and the American community knew about this. This man was not military. So him and somebody else knew what was going on. And I believe the American government knew about it. Explain to me how the greatest leader in this country that will ever be, Martin Luther King Jr., how is it that someone randomly goes to the church that his mother is at, and just so happen, once you get to a church with all these people, everybody wasn't shot up. They just so happened to kill the greatest leader of this country, mother. Explain to me how that could be a coincidence. How? That ain't no coincidence. That is not a coincidence. You got to be gullible and naive to think out of all these people, all these churches, that a man goes into a church and just so happened to kill Martin Luther King Jr.'s mother. That just happened to happen. That just happened to happen now. That's how sinister and dark your community is. And you tell me why no one has expressed this. You tell me why none of your leaders. How could this be for the sake of privacy? If I know about it, it would have never came out. And actually, I think there's actually footage on it. I think there's actual footage. And something like this could not be held back from the public anyway. It just couldn't be. It just couldn't be, man. It just couldn't be. That's just one of the things, but yet no one knows. But then some people do know. So how is it? So how is it your greatest leaders are not telling you this? This is not out of respect. Don't freestyle thoughts and narratives that you don't know is true. Because people say how out of respect. How is that out of respect? That's a horrific situation where she died, and we should know. We should know what happened. And honestly, man, that's like a first family of the country. You know, their lives were before us. That's just like somebody just going missing, and we don't, and no one feel like we should have known. They wanted to be private about it, and they've been ever before us. That don't add up. That don't add up. This is a family that's been ever before us. They were loved by everybody. So all of that would have trumped over the need to be private about it. People just didn't know. And I hold these leaders more responsible than anybody. The family, that's a different situation. I hold them responsible because they're the ones sitting up, you know, act like they know all that's going on and what all is being done, and they not and they're pointing out the truth. And is that really the fight? Yes, to me it is. We want to know if people want to dig. You want to dig people out, then we want to know everything in this community. I want to know everything what happened. Yeah, people want to get down. People want to sip tea. I want to sip tea on all the stuff America has done. That's what tea I want you to brew me up. Not for my own pleasure. Nah, and our gossip. I want to know the truth. Yeah, that's what tea I want to sip on. I want to sip on all this secret stuff that the American government and community has done. That's what I want to know. You know what I'm saying? So, all your leaders, all your entertainers, all these people a lot of them didn't know this. Your parents did not know this. Your parents didn't know this. I'm not some alien. How I find out then? If I found out, why couldn't you find out? I didn't do nothing crazy to find out. And if I found out, then why haven't your family found out? Then why haven't your government found out? Or told people about it? Because they knew about it. Absolutely. Whether they had part in it or not, they knew about it. So all these documentaries, I just cannot believe that none of them talked about Martin Luther King Jr.'s mother being killed in church. Martin Luther King Jr. has already been killed. So it's not like, this is just too hard for the community to know. We mourned, with all due respect, the worst mourning for us all was Martin Luther King Jr. That still is the worst between those two individuals, with all due respect. Because he was our leader, he was the one that was before us. He was the one that was moving everyone. You feel me? So if that's that, so that we feel the loss of that. What could have been? What it could have been in the 80s? What he could have been in the 90s? What he could have been in the 70s, 80s, and 90s? He could have lived up in 3 decades. This country wouldn't even be the same if he had lived. That's why they was on him so bad. This country would have not been the way it was. All this stuff that happened, all this crazy stuff, all this, he would have been addressing all of that. You know what I'm saying? His mother was killed in a church. This is not even common information among the African American community. It's not. And I just felt that you needed to know, not just for some quick, rare fact or something like that. This is for you to know the nature of the country that you're in. Somebody here did it. Somebody here specifically killed her, and then we don't see nobody else dead. This wasn't no church massacre. That is not how it was told. Like some church massacre or all these people dead and all, It's just like her. And our community don't know this. Your family don't know this. Your uncles and aunties don't know this. So how much respect can you have for a country that is not telling you this truth? How much respect can you have for all these people that claim to be our leaders, but they're not telling us the nature of our community? These acts show us the nature of our community and government. Because I definitely believe they were involved. I believe the American government hated that family so bad they wanted to wipe everybody out. That's just my opinion. That makes more sense to me because he died. They definitely wanted to get rid of him. So it just makes sense that they just wanted to wipe out this family. You know what I'm saying? So while people are sitting up, and I have to say this, comparing themselves to me and people and around me, you don't have this information. You are not sharing this kind of information to your community that you so dearly love, that you say you love more than I do. You say you love your community, you don't even know this information. I didn't have no magic book to find this. I didn't go through no secret pathway to find this information. Yeah. I didn't go nowhere magical to find this out. And yet you are lording over the people, and you have not revealed this to the people. That's what I got a problem with. That's what I got a problem with. People sitting around saying they're this, they're that, they're that. You know what I'm saying? That's military included. A lot of military people didn't even know this. Yeah, a lot of military people don't even know this. And you sitting up in this country thinking you know the history of this country back and forward and forward and backward. And you don't even know that the greatest leader that ever been in this country, his mother was shot in a church. You didn't even know that. Who else is the greatest leader in this country? You name them. I'll wait. Who? Abraham Lincoln? Really? So who is the greatest leader in this country of all time? Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah. While you're downgrading it, he's the greatest leader in this country. And we didn't even know his mother was shot and killed in church. Yeah. So that's why I demand respect. Because while people are demanding me to bow down to them and show them some type of acknowledgement, and for them to qualify me, how they gonna qualify me and they don't even know this? Yeah. How you gonna tell me about myself and you don't even know this? How are you more high ranking than me and you don't even have the information I have? And you're not revealing the information I'm revealing. I don't want to hear it, man. It's all in your fantasy, arrogant world. While I'm revealing facts. This ain't conspiracy. This happened. This ain't no conspiracy theory. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Yeah, so yeah, you guys need to you need to know this, to know the nature of your community, know the nature of your country. You need to know this. Somebody here, whether government or community, definitely American, killed and shot and killed Martin Luther King Jr.'s mother. And you need to know that. Because you need to know, I say that you need to know, the foundation of why you need to know is to know the nature of your country, to know the nature of this community, and adjust. Yeah. Stop trusting these folks, community or government.